Hey guys, and welcome to Fatherhood. You are listening to the Dads Group podcast, a place where you and I get to connect with incredible leaders, shape the future of fatherhood together, and dig deeper into what is happening inside the minds and hearts of new and expecting fathers. This episode is part B of our interview with one of our Dads Group legends, Nic. If you haven't heard part A yet, please go check that out first, as you really won't want to miss it. It was fantastic. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands we all meet on today. I would like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people we have listening to this episode today. Hope you guys enjoy.
So last week we spoke about Tinder. Tinder was the place where you and the lovely Danny met, and 3 months later you have a baby. Well, sorry, you didn't have a baby 3 months later. She wasn't pregnant already. 3 months later, Danny becomes pregnant to you. Congratulations. Wow, what a freak out. Fast forward a few years, you've got two kids now, two beautiful girls, Thea and Eloise, not in that particular order. And my understanding is you are now, you're running your own business. Is that correct? Is it your own thing, or is it something you partnered up with someone?
I've partnered up. So we started a recruitment company at the back of 2020, basically December 2020.
What led to that?
I was in construction for 5 years. I was always in construction since I finished school, to be fair, but I was in commercial construction for 5 years leading up to my decision to get out of it. And I guess the big thing around that was just I was supervising on some pretty big tier 1 and tier 2 sites around Brisbane and Gold Coast. And for me, I think it really came down to like that work-life balance. There was so many times that I was pulled away from being with my girls and being with my family. And although I was able to provide, a good income and that sort of thing, it really came down to, that doesn't really replace the years and the time that I'm missing out on right now. At this critical time when the kids are growing up and they're getting to know me, getting to know mum. And that sort of thing. So it was really important for me to sort of step back and have a look at that holistically and go, is it really that important that I'm, on a supervisory wage, or do I want to step back and start something where I can sort of make a bit more of the decisions as to where I am and what time I'm there, and if something's on that I really want to be there for, I can do that, So that was really the grounds on which the decision for me to step out of construction came. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure where I was going. At the beginning, it was like, I need to get out of a supervisory position. So I went back on ABN and did my own thing for a few months while I sort of collected my thoughts and worked out what's the next step for me. And there was a number of things that, sort of came up that I was like, I am interested in this and I'm interested in that. And something came up that I thought it was really quite cool, the opportunity. That it was the couple that owned the recruitment company that I originally started working with. They basically had like a Seek ad, but it was really like, I guess, more personable. He was talking about, how he built the business and how it's really about people first. And that, not like the traditional recruitment or labor hire model where it's just like get guys out left, right and center and hope something sticks to the wall. It was really about like sitting down with people for like a good solid hour and talking to them and finding out what it is that they want to do and where they want to be with their career. Is this something that they want to continue to do, or are they looking to learn something new or to move into a new pathway, and then looking at our client base and going, okay, well, we know someone that we might be able to put you in contact with and see what we can come up with. So that spoke to me straight away. So I said, you know what, I'm going to put an application in and see what happens. I literally rang up as well because there was a phone number, and I said, hey, it was Kelly, the lady, the wife, I should say. Spoke to her directly and just said where I was at and what I was up to. And anyway, got in for an interview. It was a family interview, so they wanted to meet Danny and the kids, which I thought, wow, that's really cool. So just that very first interactions that I had with them, I was like, yeah, this is something that, I'm quite interested in. It turns out that they were both graduates of the Landmark Forum as well, which I've done. So I kind of had like this already connection with them in that sense, with my self-development and professional development that I'd done. So it was cool, and basically I just started. I'd given a couple of weeks notice to the guys that I was contracting to that I was finishing up, and I jumped in sort of head first into recruitment as a recruitment manager for that company.
Wow, that's amazing, mate. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So right now I'm looking at a bit of a fork in the road because there's a couple of things that I'd really think is amazing to touch on. I think we'll start with one and then we'll maybe go to the other one as well. But you might say something that derails this conversation too, but whatever, we'll go with it. Mate, was Danny work like, so I'm assuming, I think around that time Danny was back at work, correct?
Let me think. Yes, she was. Yep.
So there was some form of income coming in, or quite a significant form of income coming in. But one at the time, and whilst you were trying to gather your thoughts and gather yourself, I'm assuming what was, sorry, I won't assume, what was it like during that time when, because I know a lot of people, especially during 2020, were having a huge sort of, am I where I want to be? Or I've just been let go at work. So like loads of people lost their job and would have been an incredibly tough space. So what was it like during that time when you knew that you knew you weren't where you wanted to be? You've made a decision knowing full well that it's going to be challenging when you've got help feed a family and whatever. What was it like during those few months between when you finished your job to starting this new one?
Great question. I knew that there was going to be a financial sacrifice in the beginning to get to where I wanted to be within the recruitment industry. And it was black and white. We were quite aware of that going into it. But it's also a funny sort of two-way street too, because I think from COVID, from that whole experience of, I started that job the week that the first lockdown in Brisbane occurred. So the recruitment industry completely stopped.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember you were telling me that. Yep.
Phoning people up, cold calling, saying, hey, can we help you with your recruitment? And they're like, have you flicked on the news? Getting that
yes, but I'm still trying.
Yeah, exactly right. So, not only was it, we made a decision to go with, taking a bit of a step back to move forward. It was also possibly at the worst possible time in recruitment, in that industry, in recent history, at least. So very interesting times to be jumping into that field. However, my mindset it also kind of helped my money mindset. So I looked at, what are we spending that we don't need to be spending? So we kind of really shifted all of our expenses, and funnily enough, I in the year 2020, Danny and I got debt free, which is kind of weird because my income dropped significantly in moving from tier one supervisory construction to, basically commission based base salary with a commission on top type thing income.
Wow.
And there was no commission, obviously. Because
no.
people out.
Yeah.
So it was pretty I guess rough in the sense of what I was earning, but just looking at what expenses we had that we didn't need, selling a vehicle that we loved, but at the same time it wasn't a necessity to have that extra expense. So just completely cleared out our debt, which was fantastic, and I was kind of mind blown as to what we could achieve with what we had. Which kind of really has transformed the way that I think about money now to moving forward, which is fantastic because as our client base and the business builds, and we are earning more money, we can still have that money mindset, where we're looking after every dollar kind of thing and going, do we really need to have that? That kind of thing. for instance, like people don't think about it, but a lot of those things that are like automatic direct debits every month that you just go, oh, I just, you don't even realize they're coming out. I went through my whole bank statement, and I realized I was paying insurance on the vehicle that I'd sold for like 3 months after I'd sold
Oh
it.
my goodness, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say that. Katie and I were just talking this morning about, cutting things like Stan and Netflix. There's shows on there that I'm still watching that I really want to keep watching, but we're also looking at it going, that's like, we're currently spending, over $1,000 a year on just 2 or 3 apps. It's like, yeah, we need to stop that, and kind of go back to basics a little bit, mate. I can understand how, that would have been an incredibly challenging time. My next thing I wanted to go to there though is when Eloise was born, and as you were becoming a new father, and even as time goes on, did you notice your perspective on what life is about changed? Did it change for you, and how?
Yeah, it definitely did. Like I said, with the very beginning of like how Danny and I didn't really know each other all that well because we'd only been together for 3 months, and that whole leading up to Eloise being born was kind of us getting to know each other still. That initial 12-month period. And then when Eloise was born, like I was talking about last week in part A, was, I noticed that there was a lot of differences in our values, in Danny's values to mine. And there was some conflict of interest there, obviously, because, my background was quite different to hers. And so that was it was an opportunity for me to either go, this isn't working, because you don't see eye to eye with me, but I took it on as like, something's not right here, something's not working, and I need to have a look at why I'm reacting the way that I am to the things that she believes in her own,
Wow.
in her reality, that this is the way it should be. And I'm like, well, hang on, my reality is not at all what your reality is. Something's not lining up here. So maybe I need to look at my beliefs and my values a little bit more closely, which is what led me into doing self-development towards Eloise being about 1.5 years old. And to this day, we kind of say that if I hadn't have done that there's a very good possibility that we wouldn't still be together today. And Danny went and did the exact same course that I did as well. So it was quite interesting how learning about like my own values and where they come from and are they actually really mine, and that kind of thing really did help us build like a strong unit within our family for our girls to grow up in. And from there, my relationship with Eloise changed. My relationship with Danielle changed, obviously, as well. So that was very powerful.
It's interesting, mate. And what I love, what you talked before as well, though, about well, first of all, that's amazing in terms of just exploring and looking at your inner self and going, okay, this is me, but maybe I need, if I want to look at trying to make this work, maybe I need to make some shifts. It's not necessarily changing your entire self, but kind of, just to fit somebody else's mold, but just sort of looking at least making an opportunity to explore it. But the other thing I found really interesting of what you were talking about is that, you've taken a leap whilst earning an income and stopping earning an income based on going, I'm not spending the quality time with my family that what I would like to spend. Or when I am with them, I'm not really with them and I'm not really present because I'm currently caught up, my brain's caught up with other things. So you've made a decision purely based on lifestyle, right? And which lifestyle obviously clearly includes how you spend your time with your family. So your perspective on, do I want to just focus on making lots of money or whatever it might have been and trying to just build a successful career, or do I want to shift it and have more quality time? And that's what I was talking about before is, when we're younger, we think, white picket fence, we think, lots of money in our bank account, or a great car, or whatever equals success. It sounds like your perspective of what equals success has changed. What's success to you now?
Oh, absolutely. It has definitely changed. And a lot of my core values were based on that, being the father, you're the breadwinner, and that was one of the big shifts that kind of I came across, and that happened, almost for me, it was almost authentic to myself, because I really wanted to spend time with my kids. I really wanted to be that dad that they came to, and I didn't want to be that guy that was just kind of like, I put the food on the table, because that's not who I am. That's just not what I wanted, the kind of relationship that I wanted to have with my kids, in the long term, and I knew that the beginning was the most important part for them, to build that relationship. So, for me, it was kind of like, well, this is what I want. So there wasn't really any other, there wasn't really any other conflict of interest there for me. It was like, this is what needs to happen. So, and obviously, in that, being there more for the kids is also being there more for Danny. So there was no conflict for her either. It was like, look, we can make this work. We'll sit down, we'll nut it out, we'll go through the budget, we'll work out what we don't need. And so it was it was a unanimous decision between the two of us that this was what we were going to do moving forward. And we're both obviously very pleased, in that decision.
It's amazing. Again, there's so many little key things that you keep talking about. And what spoke to me then was, working together as a team and working things out, which you also spoke before about, your perspective. And I think it's just incredible that you've taken that step. What I find, I think you're like at least the fourth or fifth dad in the last week or two that has specifically mentioned that they want to be the person that their child comes to, not just mum. Is that they see themselves, they're doing things that builds a stronger bond and connection that leads to them coming to you when they're upset. And obviously mum as well. It's not about, I want them to only come to me. It's about, most often, a child will go to mum, but that's not necessarily always the case if you put in the time and the effort to build that bond and relationship. And it doesn't mean that you do that it does always work out, that they will come to you no matter, as well. We know that kids just tend to gravitate to one or the other, but it's doing things to try to, it's the willingness to want your child to come to you and seeing yourself as that caregiver, that nurturer, that the one that will wrap your arms around your daughter or son to well, obviously daughters for you, but I'm speaking to dads, to be the one that their child comes to them when they're feeling discomfort, and so why do you, when did you see yourself as that to start with when you became a dad, or did it take time for you to grow into that?
I think my family values are very deep. I've always had strong family values coming from a European family, but I think also a big part of it for me was like, how can I be the best version of dad that I can be, and so part of it's selfish, right? Part of it's like, I want to have my kids come to me. I want to be close to them. I want them to come to me when they're older and they've got something going on that's, a bit more serious, and they feel comfortable that they can come and chat to me about that sort of stuff. Whereby I didn't really have that with my dad. Although, absolutely fantastic human being. I love him to bits and everything like that. But I never had that kind of where I was like able to say, me and my girlfriend are splitting up, or there's stuff going on that I want to talk about. It just wasn't there. So part of it for me was having that sort of relationship with my girls, that they could come to me and talk to me about anything, without it being weird or whatever, or feeling uncomfortable, or I can't talk to dad. So that was a big part of it for me, which is like maybe a little bit of it is selfish, but the other side of it too is like, from the very day that they're born, they're looking at you like a role model, like everything that you're doing. And I know this because, my mum and dad. So so, what can I do that's going to show them, not just because I say it, but because I'm actually living it, that I'm actually doing it. So it's actually quite funny. I got this really cool story around a particular situation that Eloise came up to me, and, I was
Please
telling her,
share.
you got to get ready for school. And she's like, I don't want to go to school. And I said, well, you have to go to school. And she says, but Dad, you do whatever you want. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, you didn't want to be in construction anymore, or you didn't want to be building anymore. So then you got a new job and you just did it. And I was like, yeah, but that was after I finished school.
That, Dad. Take that, Dad.
Oh, she got you right between the eyes, mate.
So it was
Bang.
really cool. And it was like this little moment where I was kind of like really proud of myself, but I was proud that she actually picked up on that, and it's so many things that you don't even realize that they notice. And we know that, like, all being dads, that there's so many little things that they pick up on that you don't even think that they're listening or they're knowing, and all of this, but they're there, and they look at you all the time, and they look and they idolize you. And so,
That's
if you can make
amazing.
decisions that show them, like, from a leadership point of view, this is what you can do, then that's really huge, So building those, building those values, those core values and those morals of that, you can do whatever you want to do. You just need to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
rather than
amazing.
always talking about it, because it's easy to say you need to do this and you need to do that. But like for me, it's like showing them as a leader in the family,
Yeah.
Mm, mm.
It's funny you say that. So William, not last night, the night before, just came out with to me. No, actually, yeah, it was last night. Um, I was about to go just walk into his room, as he's just had his bath. I was about to walk into his room and do the whole get dressed type thing. And as I was literally about to walk in, and he goes, no, Dad, you have to ask before you enter my room. He's 4. I'm like, at first I'm like, what? I'm the adult. You can't ask in my mind. I almost started to react like, you're not a teenager yet. How is this already happening? And Katie's like, Adam, and she, again, which was great. She's, no, you listen to him. And oh, yeah, hang on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, mate. So you would like me to ask to permission to come into your room? He's like, yes, I would. I'm like, and I had to listen to that and actually acknowledge it and say I thanked him for telling me but I also said, so does this mean that you're going to ask to come into our room from now on? Or are you just going to come running in and jump on our bed? Because I'd like to see that. But I think it's amazing what you're saying, and I agree. And I often find myself, having to pull myself up as well on, making sure that if he shares to me that I made him upset about something, or I made him feel discomfort about something, or he feels a certain way, that even if I feel like, it's not quite there, to acknowledge that he's told me, I think if we want our kids to come to us about things, the worst thing we can, or the thing that, one of the worst things we can do anyway, is to shut it down. Because, over a period of time, as we know, eventually they're just going to shut down and not come to us about anything, no matter what it is. And so, mate, that's an amazing thing to share. And so, how are the kids now? I know that Eloise is in school. Is Thea in school as well?
Thea's in kindy, but she starts prep next year, which is crazy. Like, it's totally crazy because she's still my little baby, Like, so it's kind of weird to think that she's going to be starting prep next year. But I mean, I had the same experience with Eloise, where it was like, really, are we starting school already? Like, what's going on?
Have you done the school tour yet for Thea?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, she's pretty excited, and I mean, Eloise is at the same school, obviously, so it's quite exciting for her to to be showing her little sister around and showing her like all the places, all the playgrounds, and where
That's
they have
so
fun
good.
and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. It's really good to be a part of. But yeah, it is kind of weird that they're at that age already. That they're Thea's about to start school next year. It goes real quick.
100%. William starts next year. I did a school tour last week, just with my mum and I. She was in town at the time, and honestly, they got to a point where it all really sunk in, and I have to say, I got a little, felt a little water in the eyes. I just
Yeah.
like we were in the library, and a bunch of kids that would be his age came in and just came and sat down in front of the teacher without any real instruction. And I kind of looked around, I'm like, and I could picture him. And I was like, wow, he's going to be in that uniform. That's going to be him next year. And I sort of started to well up a little bit. Mum's looking at me like, are you all right? I'm like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's going so fast. And then this morning, dropping both of them, William's at kinder and dropped Marnie to daycare. And William's asking me, is Marnie going to school soon? I'm like, oh, probably in about 5 or 6 years, mate.
Yeah.
But I realized he's going to be still in school at the same school, together. And I thought, wow, this is really moving fast. And so, mate, how are you going balancing it all? Works, drop-offs, all of those nuances of fatherhood.
I guess like most people, we've got a bit of a system down pat now with the morning routine. It works out quite well now. I guess with my start times, that I'm able to help out in the morning, and be around for that sort of thing. So that's quite cool, And the girls are always like, "Dad, we want you to drop us off," So, so the morning routine is that essentially because Danny works 3 days a week, we actually carpool because I drive past her work to get to my work. Or to get to our office. And so, so in the morning, it's like all four of us in the car. So bags in, hats in, drink bottles in, all the rest of it. Eloise has PCYC in the morning, which is the before school care at the school. And then Thea obviously goes to daycare. So, we don't have to rush around to try and get breakfast sorted in the morning. They have breakfast there, which is great. So it's only sorting ourselves out as such and sorting their bags and their lunch boxes and drink bottles and all that kind of jazz out. So that's kind of how that works. We get in and we do the drop off in the morning, and then drop Danny off on my way to my office, and then on the way back I pick her up, and then we go and pick up the girls. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and sometimes Friday or Thursday if she picks up extra shifts and things like that. And then on those off days, she usually does the pick up and drop off. If Thursday, Friday, she'll usually do those if I'm working and she's not, sort of thing. So yeah, get a bit of a routine going. So it's pretty full on.
Like a well-oiled machine, mate. By the sound of it.
Yeah, it is. And then it's, it does get hectic because you've got your after school curriculum, and then Danny's got, her sports activities that she does, and I've got mine that I do, and extra curriculum things that you get up to. I started meditation every Thursday night for like a year and a half now. And Eloise comes with me, and she absolutely loves it. Like she gets upset if I say, what, this is Dad's night tonight, and she's like, oh, can I come next week? I said, yeah, that's cool, because every now and then it's got to be for me, right? It was originally
100%.
always for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
there will be no takeover in this house.
No, that's right. But no, it's cool. So, and we make it work, like with regards to the t-ball and the softball. Like Danny plays softball and the girls both play t-ball. So that's Sunday, like a write-off, So I'll go down, and we'll just support the girls and stuff like that. Help them along when they, which base am I running to? All that kind of stuff. So it's pretty fun. It becomes a bit of a family outing. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Brilliant, mate. Blair's got a question he's been burning to ask you, mate.
Yeah, man. No, it's good. I think something that I love about your story, Nick, is like how intentional you guys are, man. Like I think that's really encouraging and challenging. Like, you're taking meditation, you realize like you need that time. Like you're identifying your needs and you're working on it. But you also, something that stood out to me a little while ago is when you're talking about, if you didn't do this self-development course you were talking about, you might not be in the same place. And I think that takes guts, that takes courage, and that takes humility, dude, to actually be able to admit that you need to do something. But then I think you took another step that a lot of guys do not do. you recognized something and then you did something about it. And that's why I wanted to sort of go back to that self-development course you were talking about. Like, what is that? Like, is that through a uni or a TAFE or whatever else it was? But also, like, what was it out of that experience of that whole course, you and Danny doing it as well? Obviously, it wasn't just a you thing, that had a big impact on you as a person, or the way that you approach fatherhood?
Nice. Great question.
Big question for you, man. Answer it
Yeah, no,
perfectly.
that's a great question. Look, I don't know if I get shout outs for mentioning the name of the company that I did it through, but
Yeah.
Oh, they're unapologetically, mate. Just do it.
Just
yeah,
go
no
for it,
worries.
man.
Yeah, so I did what's called the Landmark Forum. So that was the program that I did. My brother-in-law had done it, and he could see that, Danny and I were coming up against stuff. And I from me sharing with him as well, that this is coming up and this kind of thing. And he said to me, "Man, I know what you're going through." And he's just such a good listener. He really can just like take in what you're saying. And for some reason, I always just felt like I had this real good connection with him. And he was able to just speak, without overthinking it, but just everything that he said kind of made sense to me. And he shared with me, and he said, "Look, I've done this program like 8 years ago, and it really helped me and your sister-in-law, Danny's sister." Really helped me to be where I am today with our relationship. And I was just like, "Man, tell me more. Like, I just give us a crack at this thing." So, it wasn't a big sell or anything like that. He just said, have a listen to this and see what you think about it. So I went along to one of the information evenings, that they do, a community event where they just talk about the program and some of the things that you'll experience and some of the things that people don't see. You don't know what you don't know, that kind of thing. So a lot of that. And I went along, and instantly I was like, yeah, I need to do this, because there were so many things that were put in front of me that I was like, I know I do that for a fact, and I don't know why. And I know that I react like this, and then later on I feel like an asshole because I got angry at her, or
Yeah.
at somebody or at a situation or whatever. And I was like, I want to be in control of my own emotions. Like, if I react like that and I don't even feel like I've got control, and then later I'm like, oh man, I need to go back and make amends with that person. Um, then something's not right there. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about like what has me act the way that I do. And basically I went along and did this course, and I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea. And the first night I kind of went home and I just like unloaded on Danny, but like in a like I understand kind of way.
Yeah.
And it was teary for both of us. And then Saturday, so it's 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday, full day, like 10-hour days. And then the Tuesday evening, where you can bring like guests and people to come along to experience what you've experienced over the weekend, to get a little taster, to see if they want to do it. And yeah, so anyway, Saturday night came home, same thing, more stuff unpacked, new things that I was like, holy shit, have I been like this with you? I'm so sorry. This, like, I didn't even realize this was going on.
Yeah.
And then other things, that I was able to have a conversation with her about, things that I was like, I'm not okay with this, but I haven't said anything. It's just been like churning in the background. And I'm getting frustrated with you, but I haven't even expressed it. So how do you even know? So rather than wait until the last minute and going, bang, this is everything that's going on, just being able to have those authentic conversations with her straight away as soon as something comes up, and her having them back at me, has been like life changing for both of us. But so anyway, my brother-in-law's been sharing this program with Danny for like 8 years as well. And she was like, nah, not interested. Nah, not interested. I did the course, and she came along on the Tuesday night. Like, regrettably, she was like, I don't want to come. And I'm like, but
Yeah.
no one else is coming, and I need to have a guest there. So,
Yeah, don't make me that bot guy. Don't make me that guy with no friends, please.
so I dragged her out. I said, come on, we'll make this work. So she came, in support of me, which was fantastic, with no expectations. And she signed up and was like, yep, I'm doing it too, from that evening. So I think she registered, and then she did it like whatever it was, a month or two later, whenever the next course was held. And she's just gotten so much out of it as well. She's probably not as forward spoken about the course as I am, but it's like, it's changed the way that we talk to each other, and the way that we deal with like situations, and even when like it's not like we don't have arguments, but they're just like straight away dealt with now, rather than like leave them, and then there's like 4 or 5 arguments that are sort of, haven't been addressed. And then you get that hour where you're like, oh, now I can address everything. Boom. And it's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, this is overwhelming. So it's just given us that ability to process things better, and have those conversations that aren't necessarily easy conversations to have. And I mean, like even still now, I'm still learning and still practicing having those conversations that are sometimes difficult to have, and having them with people that haven't done the program as well. It can be like another challenge, but it's just about, just saying things as they are, and having those conversations early in the piece when something comes up, rather than waiting till it's like this huge ordeal, I guess.
Yeah. I
Mm,
know what you mean, mate, because I did as you know, and many people don't know, I did the life coaching course as well, and became got my diploma in life coaching quite a few years ago. And I remember that, you'd come home and you kind of feel like you're on 2 different planets to begin with, and then
yeah.
and because your perspective on things are just completely open, wide-eyed. But I know as well how much of an impact it had, even though Katie actually didn't do the course, but like she picked up on things that I learned. And over the years, she's, we're definitely, in terms of the having an argument type thing, or having a discussion or whatever it might be, it's pretty quickly squashed. Not in a way of we're going to bury this and put it under the carpet, but more we just seem to manage those things a lot easier, or a lot quicker. But mate, thank you so much. We're going to start to wrap up this amazing conversation, but I'd be one thing I really want to know before we do finish up, for say you're at the coffee shop, cafe or whatever, and you find there's an expecting father standing right next to you. For some reason, maybe he's got splashed across his head that he's going to be a dad soon. What's one thing that you'd think would be really great for him to know as his wife's in the hospital? She's in the hospital. He's ducking out for a quick coffee, about to have their first baby. What's the bit of advice you give him, or one tip you give him?
Well, the very first tip I'd tell him is make sure you don't go back with just one coffee, man.
Yeah, that's it, dude. That's great, man.
No, make sure there's 2 coffees on the order for sure.
Great, there's a lot in that. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that's a great one. You know what? It's funny because I was thinking about what I would say to somebody who's just expecting, and like what's one really great tip that I could give. I think probably the one that I'll go with is that, like, for me, I've learned as much from my kids as they've learned from me. And so I think if you go into becoming a dad with that thought process that, it's not just about me imparting my wisdom on, but also just learning from my child, I think that just puts you in a really good position, I think. Because you learn to listen to your child. You learn to sort of pick up on the little signs, even when they're like a baby. A lot of people get frustrated because they're always crying and they don't know how to, like, what do I do? I've tried the bottle, I've changed the nappy, I've given them a bath. It's just having that sort of intuition to sort of go, just try and be where that baby is.
Yep.
So I think that's probably the one that I'd go with, is just like, you literally have to just learn, like, just all over again, but from the baby, it's pretty awesome.
I love that, and it actually reminds me of a bit of a quote that one of a retired AFL player last week, Jordan Ruffhead, said when he was talking to his team and letting them know that he's retiring. He shared one of the things he shared of what he's learned from football or what he's learnt, what he's gained from football. The thing that he shared was that the thing that really stuck with me, and I'm a footy coach as well, and I shared with my team because I think it's an incredible thing, is that he said football gave him the ability to contribute to something beyond himself and his own life. And I just, that what you just spoke about then spoke to me with that as well. And I think it kind of is down the same line. And I think fatherhood gives you can give you the ability to contribute to something beyond yourself. So yeah, mate, I love it. Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast and having this amazing conversation with us. And mate, I can't wait to catch up with you again. And we wish you and your family really, all the very best. And I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to have a chat, and talk to you about, my experience, and hopefully that some of the other dads that are listening can really relate to, or, can get something out of it, hopefully. Even if it's like one little tiny thing, that they go, shit, let me have a crack at this. And obviously, I'm on, if they want to connect with me too, I'm more than happy for my name to be on the thing as well. I'm happy for them to reach out to me on Facebook and have a chat. My door's always open. So,
well, if you listen to part A and you've had a Tinder relationship, or you've had any kind of relationship you've become pregnant super fast, and when I say super fast, more than the usual average person, Nic's your man to reach out to see how we made it work. Mate, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And Nic, thank you so much for coming on and sharing, mate. That was great. If you would like to find out more about Dad's Group, join our digital Dad's Group session, which is where these podcast episodes are recorded, or connect with some of our amazing partners, please check out our website at www.dadsgroup.org, which we will also add into our podcast notes for you guys. Please remember to like, subscribe, and review, and please share with any dads and families that may benefit from hearing this podcast. Cheers, guys.